Okay, we're gonna begin.
Okay.
And first of all, just thank you for taking the time to come and do this. This is always it's an honor for me to get to talk to a veteran and record the story. But I'll just start to introduce this. My name is Susan Kahlo, and today is September 16th, 2021, and this is with the Veteran Connections through the Cobb County. We're at their offices in Marietta, Georgia.
Yes.
And so, appreciate it. What I'd like you to do is give your name and spell your name for me, and what branch of service were you in?
Okay, I'm Sarita Dyer, Yvette Dyer, Sarita, Yvette, Yvette, Dyer, Dyer, and I was in the U.S.ARMY.
And what years were you in?
1989 to 2016.
Okay. Can you, just to set the stage, where did you grow up, or where was your family, and what was going on before you joined? What were you
Born in Milledgeville, Georgia, raised in Augusta, Georgia, graduated high school, pretty much middle child of 5 girls. Mother, single parent mother at the time, divorced from my father, who also was a Korean War veteran.
So
and pretty much just...
Was he also Army?
He was Army, yes.
Okay.
Army, Korean War veteran as well. And he just passed just this December. He was 90 years old. And other than that, just a very green, plain, normal life. I was really good in school and science. Math and science were my favorites. So I graduated high school like a 4.2 GPA.
Oh, wow.
So I always wanted to be a biomedical engineer.
Oh, okay.
That was my goal in life.
Okay. What got you interested? Why did you enlist, or what happened? What was going on?
It's 2 things got me to enlist. One was I started college, and my mom took ill to multiple sclerosis. And so it changed our dynamics. That's why I always tell people to have a plan B. So my plan B was to join. I saw a commercial, Be All You Can Be, people jumping out the airplane, and I was like, I want to do that. And then it said, go to college. And I was like, you know what? I can jump out the airplane and go to college. So I chose to join the Army. And
do you remember that day, or what was?
oh my God, that day I joined, I think because I might have scored well, I don't know, but the recruiters I joined, and I think within no amount of time, maybe 2 weeks, I was shipped out because I was physically fit. You know, I ran track. I was a real skinny girl, so I barely could do push-ups. So actually, I couldn't do 1 push-up, to be honest. I was underweight for my height. And they shipped me out, and next thing I know, I was in Fort Dix, New Jersey, in the cold. And I didn't have a time to think, so went from there to Fort Jackson, where they trained me to be a mechanic. I chose to be a mechanic because I always like challenges. I like things when they say girls can't do it. I want to do that. And that's why I ended up being a mechanic. I could have done a lot of jobs after, but I chose being a mechanic, and it was the huge trucks trying to pull the hoods and all those things. But other than that, yeah.
How was it? Were there other women?
Yes, there were. We were in integrated training, so there were women in Fort Dix, New Jersey, as well as guys. It wasn't as many women, and we had to do pull-ups all the time because we were a lot of us was really small in stature. And there weren't any, I guess, because you're so scared, you really don't notice a lot of things till as you get older, and you be like, oh, that's what happened. Because it was just fear for 9 weeks. I was scared. Just get up and go.
What?
Like the drill sergeant.
Oh.
The drill sergeant. I mean, you get up, they tell you when to get up, they tell you what to eat, where to go, where to stand, what to put on. So you just going, I'm a duck in line, I'm a duck in line. And so a lot of stuff I don't remember. I just remember one thing because I loved when I was shooting the M16 on the range when I qualified. That was the best part of basic training. And it was snowing. It was in New Jersey, and it snowed. And I clearly remember we were out there shooting. We had these big, they call them mittens. And they're big gloves, and you're supposed to dig out your thumb and your trigger finger, your trigger mittens. And it was so cold that the targets were freezing. And so they were like, it's so cold, we gotta qualify, we gotta shoot them. So they took us off the range, they let us warm up, and then to give it time to warm up in the day, because we started shooting like 9 o'clock in the morning. And so as the day went, it was getting a little warmer. But eventually we were able to march back down, and I remember my eyelashes like getting ice on them, because you know you're breathing and you're fogging. It was just a lot. But I remember my first qualification in the military. I shot 27 rounds, and I had never fired a weapon in my life. And the goal was 24, to get 24 to be able to go to the next phase, or to get, like, you made it, you qualified. And I shot 27. That was the best day of my life, having never fired a weapon. And I mean, they trained us prior to that, but to actually go out there and the targets are popping up and you're engaging them by yourself, you know, you're transitioning to different targets. You may have a 50-meter target pop up, you may have a 100-meter, and they timed, so they only stay up 3 to 4 seconds. Depends, the farther away, the longer the seconds, but I think the longest is maybe 10 seconds for a 300-meter target. And so I remember I shot one of my 300-meter targets. That was like joy. I came off that range, snotty nose, cold, just didn't care, dancing with all this cold gear on, and we had these hats you roll up, and you put them over your face, and I was so happy when they said, you qualified. I was like, oh my God. So that was the best part of basic.
Well, that's a good memory.
Yeah, I will never forget that. That was 28 years ago.
That was psyched. That would be psyched up.
Yes, yes.
So where'd you go from there?
My first duty assignment, I left. Okay, got finished. Went and to which is called individual training. That's when I went to become a mechanic. So the first part I was telling you was basic training, and that's what every initial entry soldier comes in. And then we went to Fort Jackson, where you get your advanced, your occupational specialty. So I went to Fort Jackson and became a truck, fixing mechanics. Fixing trucks. Left there and got my duty assignment. I was so nervous. That was for 8 weeks. Like I said, you fixing trucks. It was okay. It was really grimy and dirty, and I realized I made the wrong choice. I was like, I don't know if I like this job. And my nails was getting dirty. I smelled like grease. I was like, I don't know if I can do this forever. But oh well, maybe there's a path. Maybe I can make the best of it. So we got our assignment, and I went to Karlstadt, Germany, up in northern Germany near Berlin, and I was stationed in 2nd Armored Division Forward, which is a heavy male dominant unit that had 4,000 males and about 200 females. And it's the Hell on Wheels General Patton's army that was up there. So you had to know all the history. I got there in, I'm thinking like August time frame, no, June, July time frame, and next thing you know, about 2 months later, we got an announcement, you're going to Desert Storm. And rewind, I'm a little girl from Georgia, never been outside of Georgia other than the military travel. Now you're going to send me to Germany. I get off the plane in Germany. I grew up green, my mom Pentecostal, praise the Lord, God, may God bless. And I'm in Frankfurt, Germany airport, and I see all these sex toys and objects. And I'm like, whoa, new posters. I mean, it's like, it was a shock. Okay, so I'm not even used to that. Then no one's speaking English, right? And then everybody's driving fast. And then I finally get to where I'm going, and we drive from Frankfurt, Germany. And it's like a 3-hour bus ride all the way up to Karlstadt, because it's all up near Berlin. So it's northern Germany. And we get there, and it's like all these guys, and you don't see any women. And you're like, okay, and then they give you all this military gear, and you got these bags of gear, and you're still, I haven't even gotten used to being on the plane. I mean, it was a lot, and we get told we're going to combat. I'm crying, I'm a new, I literally cried.
How many people were you with? I mean, as you're
the entire
going through
division,
this?
the entire 2nd Armored Division, which was about 20-some thousand people. No, about 5, because we was a forward. It was probably about 10,000, because it was a lot of infantry, armor, field artillery. We were the support element, and that's all we did. They were the medics or the mechanics, or the logistics, the supply people. We got told we were going. I remember crying. I remember people crying. I remember people saying, I'm a conscientious objector. I'm not going. I remember people saying, I'm Muslim. I'm not going to fight my brothers. I just remember so many different mentalities. And then they started training us. And that's when we found out that there were chemical stuff could be over there. That added more fear and anxiety. Then they gave us these, training us on chemical warfare, telling us how to do chemical warfare. If you get attacked, you need to take these pills, you need to put these needles, in your legs and yada yada. And you're getting all this training. Oh, and then here's the enemy trucks. You need to know the trucks. You need to know what the vehicles look like. And if the enemy's coming, you got to be able to call and tell what the enemy looks like. And I'm looking like, I don't even know.
You had just gotten there.
I was a brand new private. I barely had rank on. I had a little, we call it an E2. It's called a mosquito wing. My collar could barely go down because it was so lightweight. And, so.
Wow. Were there people that had been before that were
No.
there preparing you?
I think, no, because the previous war before that was Panama.
Mm-hmm.
And so there hadn't been anything since Panama. So we were all going.
It was quick.
It was pretty much learn as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, get us into the desert. Oh my God, you talking about a cluster FU? You talking about, I'm the young soldier. I'm supposed to be looking at the sergeants and the leaders. And granted, there were still some Vietnam veterans who were still serving because my first sergeant, he was a Vietnam veteran. And we're looking to these people because they're our leaders. They're supposed to tell us. We out there navigating with the equipment is not working because it was new equipment that teaches how to navigate. But what's it called when it's really dark, there's no stars in the sky and you can't draw any signals, so you can't navigate because the system's not working. Please forgive me, I forgot a lot of the names of the equipment, but if anybody saw, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a big old piece of equipment like a GPS, but it's huge. And you're supposed to put your plugs in, your points and your waypoints, and you're trying to go from point A to point B because there's no known landmarks in the desert. So you're just riding around. I kid you not, we rode around in a circle one time for 2 days, lost. Because we didn't know which way to go because the sandstorms would come through. It washes away trails, it washes away things. So we never trained for this. And I'm literally thinking I'm gonna die because people panicking, people still crying. It was a lot.
You were assigned, in a one truck with
I was the mechanic, so I was the wrecker driver.
Oh, wow.
I would go and recover blown up vehicles off the road. If a vehicle got blown up by, there were some times we would run over these little small bombs, and if the vehicle got blown up or it broke down, or because we had never been in the desert, the sand would get inside the air intakes, inside the filters, and it'll cause the vehicles to stall. So we had never been there. So a lot of the stuff the military is just pretty much thank you for the previous service, because had we not went in Desert Storm, I'm pretty sure the vehicles going into the other wars in the desert would probably not have known that we need to fix our air intakes, not cause the vehicles to stall. So all that sand gets in there, and a lot of vehicles would stall. So the people just leave them out there. So they were like, hey, we need a recovery to come get them. So me and another young guy, he's a corporal, he's an E4. We're sent out there. Here's a case of water, here's a case of MREs, you need to go pick this vehicle up. And we had 12 rounds each. 12 ammo rounds, because all the ammo was going to the infantry, because we were considered support. So that's my experience in Desert Storm. I can go on and on. Desert Storm between that, the sexual harassment, you get up in the mornings, you're washing your clothes on your hands and scrubbing on your hands, because we didn't have wash machines, we didn't have quartermaster and laundry intake. You had big tubs, you had a scrub board, and you literally scrub your clothes. So you tie them on these lines and you hang them out. Well, we had our bras and our panties. The guys in the same camp area, they would steal them. Or if you're walking around in your brown t-shirt and you're a female, you're getting catcalls because they're like, ooh, shake it, baby, shake it, you know. And it was bad. You want me?
Let's stick it up there.
Yeah.
Either that or we'll pull it down.
You want to pull it down, you think?
Yeah.
Pull it down?
I hope it'll stay.
One more
Stick another
time,
piece
then we
of
not.
tape.
Put another?
Stick another little piece of tape on there. Let's do it. It'll hold it.
I haven't even got out of Desert Storm
No,
yet.
we haven't got out of Desert Storm. I love it. It looks too good there.
So you would get,
Wild.
we wash our clothes on our hands, and if you got in trouble, you burn poop.
Mm-hmm.
You would take the Mo gas, dump it on there, and all.
What kind of things would constitute getting in trouble? Trouble.
Missing fire guards,
Oh.
sleeping in, just mischievous little things. Instead of them giving you a field grade Article 15, you get extra duty. And part of your
Okay.
extra duty would be burning poop.
Mm-hmm.
That is the worst job ever. So, true story, what I did. I got tired of burning. I wasn't in trouble. Sometimes it when people in trouble, so you rotate, because being low on a totem pole, you're private.
Mm-hmm.
We need some privates to go burn poop. So you're private. So it's like, private, go over there and burn the poop. So you're like, okay. So I got tired of it. So what I did was, a little fair-skinned. I scratched my arms till they welled up really bad. Both of them. I know I shouldn't have done it. And then I went to my sergeant and said, I don't know, it's something breaking me out. I don't know what it is. And he was like, go on over there, private. I said, so I might be allergic to it or something. So that's how I didn't have to burn
You got out of it.
anymore. I know, isn't that horrible?
Kind of clever. It sounds like you were thrown in there. It sounded like you had to survive.
Well, I mean, when you're low on the totem pole, it's. I love that fact that you have to walk the ranks, because it teaches you to be a better leader, and it teaches you how you felt at that private when you're here, and you think about, okay, the privates burnt poop. Why are we going to keep using the same ones? Maybe we need to come up with a better way of doing it, rotated, or maybe we can give some better ways of burning or destroying the poop. Maybe we need to tell the Army, inventors that, you need to come up with, research and development to come up with better ways of disposing feces in the battlefield. So that's how I love all my stories as I went up the ranks, having, reached Sergeant Major, but every level I can tell you there was a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I always said I always want to make it better for the next.
Were there particular individuals or men that looked out for you, or did you feel that you could turn to during even these early years or early experiences?
I think I will honestly, even though he was a Vietnam veteran, the first sergeant, he was a fair guy. He was cussed a lot, but he was fair. He had a lot of, now it's PTSD, but when the bombing did start in Desert Storm, he had a flashback, and he was getting on the radio, bombing, he was just having as if he was having, and we got kind of scared. But he definitely made sure, he was like a dad to us. Okay. He would be like, you guys are in war. There's no time to do this, and you need to do that. And he just reiterated. And he was like, and I told you, young ladies, you need to travel in battle buddies, and you don't need to be by yourselves. And then they thought we were being attacked by Scuds with possible chemicals, and that's when the PB tablets that nobody heard of anymore.
What's a PB tablet?
It's a chemical, it's a long chemical word,
okay.
But it was supposed to assist us if we got attacked on a chemical, if we got attacked. You take this tablet, it's supposed to assist you with a nerve agent poisoning. And then you do your nerve agent kit. There's 2 needles you pop in your leg in case you ingest any of the chemical agents. And we were instructed once the bombing started, and we thought we had a Scud attack. Scud was what they would send back when we were bombing them, they would send Scuds. But from my understanding, we intercepted all of them. We were to take them every 8 hours. And I remember taking it, the first one, this white tablet. I was so sick. I was throwing up, we were sick, and then we were next to the National Guard unit. I love my National Guard brothers and sisters, but their training is equal now. But back then, the training, more money was put into the active instead of the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought these men and women over there. I just don't think we weren't trained, but they were worse than not trained. And they were, when they say scud attack, they in there, you could literally hear them screaming and hollering, and they're putting on full MOP gear, mission-oriented protective posture. They would put that on, full gear, and they were just spazzing. And then they make it worse for us, because you hear somebody hollering and screaming, you're like, what's going on? Who's dying? So it was a lot of unorganization, a lot of priority went. The way we fought back then was the infantry and the combat arms guys, which is infantry, tankers, field artillery guys. They were considered the priority. The support guys, which is behind them, is the logistics and support guys. We were not. So the way we trained was always taking care of them. So all the best training, all the best equipment always went to that front line. So we were here. So that's why we only got less rounds, less ammo, because they're fighting the fight. They're in front.
Were you moving? Were you mobile?
Yes, we moved. We jumped. It was called TAA, Tactical Assembly Area. We would jump in different locations, but they would be forward. We would be behind them, but they always got more food. They always got more. I mean, it's the way we fought in 90. But then, as we fast forward to Iraq, it became asymmetric, and then they realized that the enemy knew that we fought like this, right? The bunny hop.
So the Desert Storm provided some learning experiences that they could apply to Iraq?
I think people had studied how we did that. We lost a lot of people initially in the front load of Iraq till they realized that the enemy was hitting the logistics, the support element. So then they realized that the enemy was fighting from every angle. They knew we had our best up front, even though we were good too, but there's the infantry and the rest of the army, that's the old saying, the infantry and the rest. So they knew that that's how the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they knew that's how we came in. So they would hit, that's why so many trucks, early when the convoys was getting hit, because they said, why am I going to fight these infantry guys? Let's hit the convoys, let's hit those guys. And that's when all those different, went from the front line to we're fighting everybody. So we all start getting trained equally, like, clearing a building, what to do for ID, rollover drills, ammo, we fire. I mean, we all got trained the exact same way. So anybody can pick up and move now.
Because you had said earlier in that first with the Desert Storm that if a truck went over an explosion, or you had to move up and then be the ones to service and repair.
Yes, in a wrecker. It was a wrecker.
So you were moving into line of fire and
but we weren't trained.
lines.
What they would do is they would leave it, like if they left the vehicle, because they would give them another vehicle maybe. They'll leave the vehicle, we'll just go recover the vehicle. But they've already kept moving. So we'll go recover the vehicle.
You were then vulnerable.
Oh my God, where were we? I look back now, I was like, oh my God, thank you God, you covered me. The rod and the staff definitely covered me a lot of years. I look at how untrained I was.
Wow.
Only God carried me through that, and my mom's prayers, I will tell you. I'm getting emotional because I think how they put us out there, not trained. But when you get on the news and everybody's, the spokesperson, they get up there and they're like, yeah, we're going to do this. And I'm like, did you all know I had 12 rounds in a combat zone? 12! And I wasn't trained, and...
Well, that you just have a whole first-hand. You've been there when you listen to. So you filter when you're listening to the news or stories now. You automatically.
I know, and then I know, but I will tell you, it is a lot better. Just like with the sexual harassment and sexual assault, it was to the point where you can walk in offices. They would have Playboy magazines. Hustler, I don't know if everybody heard of that magazine, The Hustler. they would have that. You come in from the weekend, the guys talking about what they did, where they did it. And, you know, me at the time, still being a mechanic, I would stand outside because it was so offensive. I would literally take my break outside in the bay or sit in a truck and take my lunch break or something because it was like there was no protection for us. The same as being a mom, you know, you had a baby, 6 weeks, you're supposed to be, you know, ready to go, back to shape. You know, now it's 6 months. So everything we've done, I feel like I've contributed to that. Because if we hadn't said anything as women, then we'd probably still be 6 weeks. You know, I can remember doing exercise and my breast leaking milk, and I'm standing out there and I got 2 big circles. So I'm humiliated, you know, doing physical training with the guys looking, you know.
So you had a child while you were in service? Wow.
Yeah. And so she'll be 30 years old. So.
Well, congratulations on that.
Yes.
You got them through teenage years.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you actually experienced having a child going through while you were deployed? No.
Yeah. Okay, so Desert Storm, Desert Storm, come back. The best thing ever. I will tell you the parade was amazing. They gave us.
Where was the parade?
We had a parade in Germany, but then there were some people who flew back to New York. Remember, they marched down the streets and did all that. My first husband, who's my daughter's father, he was part of that parade. And he got to march down the street, and he told me it was, and I watched it on TV. It was amazing just to see that, you know, just to see what happened. But then, you know, they go and they find out, they did talk to us, and they found out what went wrong, how we can do things better. And I was like, wow, okay, so they see they messed up, but you know, they want to make it better. So fast forward, 2nd Army Division got the orders to deactivate, and then the Army started drawing down. And they were cutting people left and right, getting rid of people, giving them money and telling them, here's $30,000 or here's some severance pay, and go, because we're downsizing. We're done. We're done. The war's over. Let's go. And I said, I like this, you know. I really I know you may say, you stayed after that experience. Again, I like challenges. And so, being a middle child, you know, that so we meet after the war, we come back, I am pregnant, have a child, get married, you know, do all the, remember I'm green from Georgia, so you're not having no child without a husband, and you're not going home without a husband, right? So, you can call it a contract marriage or hurry up, get what you go get done, but you're going to get a father. So my daughter was born. We deactivated 2nd Army Division for it, and we were married. We got married in Amsterdam. And, I know, right? We got married in Amsterdam. We came back because the military were not stationed together, so we ended up being in the married couples program. So we were able to be together and raise our daughter together. That was the plan. We ended up getting our first assignment was Fort Hood, Texas. Ooh, that went from, first of all, it's a ginormous base. And my husband, it was infantry, and it was time for me to re-enlist because I was right at 3, because we didn't stay in Germany but 3 years, so I was having enough time to transition back because they was deactivating. We got able to get back so I can re-enlist. So I didn't like being a mechanic. I just thought it was just too much. Remember, it's greasy. So it was time for me to re-enlist, so I went ahead and said I want to be a nurse. I had started taking classes. That's why I tell you the great thing about the military. I ended up leaving there with 4 college degrees, 2 masters and 2 bachelors. So, there's so many great things, you know, about the military. So I got there, started some classes. I wanted to be a nurse. Well, remember, the bioengineer, I didn't see you could do it in the military, so I said, okay, maybe a nurse. So I started taking classes, got accepted. Well, no, I started taking a lot of biologies and things. And I'm trying to think, chronologically, I hear it cracking.
It's that same little piece.
Should we take it down?
I don't know. Well, it gives you a little exercise. You stand when you do that. Just
Let's try that piece.
so much for that.
Is it cracking?
Staying quiet for a minute.
Okay. So I wanted to be a nurse, and I wanted to reclass to be a nurse. And that's when the Army had was called a 91 Charlie. So you can actually go and nurse. You do an actual nursing program. It was so long, the waiting list was so long to get in it. And then my window was closing for me to re-enlist. So I said, okay, I want to be a nurse. And then they said, well, why don't you do chemical? You know, you get to work in a lab and you get all these science and all these things. And I was like, oh, okay. And so they showed me these pictures of the guys with these lab coats on. I should have known better with all that, but you know, I liked it. And I said, oh, a lot of science. And I was like, okay, so I'll be chemical because the nursing program had such a long waiting list. And my window closing, either I re-enlist or I get out. Because that's how the Army works, right? If your window started closing in, you either sign the contract or you go home. And so end up going to chemical. Went to Alabama, where they got all the chemicals in on there. Fort McCulloch, Alabama, where they found a lot of chemicals buried under the grounds at now. Went there. Where's the picture? Here is part of some of the stuff where we were in training. That's me. And part of chemical is chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, high-yield explosives. So in the training, they teach you how to make bombs. They teach you how to protect against radiation. It's all defense and offense training. And this is one of the training we did, one of our practical exercises. We was making a flame field expedient explosive. So that's over about 300 sandbags, and that tank is fuel, and then there's a det cord that you run from it. And then that's work, that's about 8 hours of work, and then this is the end result when we light the det cord.
Big fireworks.
Yeah, so that's part of being chemical, but chemical has so much more into it.
Did you find that you must have liked it?
I did like it because it had a lot of science. It had me to where I was able to be Nuclear Regulatory Commission qualified, Incident Commander qualified, I was Tech qualified. It is a very broad field that deals with vulnerabilities, consequence management, even environmental hazards and things. So I was like, okay, because it was there's so many places and things you can do with that job. And so I was like, okay. Meanwhile, I did continue to go to school while I was in, and Fort Hood was very interesting. I didn't do much but NTC, National Training Center out in California. We went there a couple of times. That's one of the big training centers that you go to for most war scenario type training. We did a lot of desert training out there. And I remember from Desert Storm, so they were able to apply some of the things, lessons learned from that to the desert training in during that time at Fort Hood.
Where was NTC?
California. Boston, out California.
Was it outside San Diego or was it up further?
Oh, it's desert. Not far from Vegas.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know exactly because I was, again, young. All I did was train. You fly in, you get off, and you go train. You didn't get time to go have drinks and hang out in the city. It's desert. I remember the tortoise. It was a crossing, and you know they were on the what was it, species when you don't want to kill the species.
Oh, endangered.
Endangered species. Yeah, they were one. And I remember they had the crossings for them, and they were but it was strictly desert training. So some of the things I did remember they applied from Desert Storm. I could see as a young private, remembering going through that, and then now I'm a E6, so now I could see the what they applied. And I was like, oh, okay. So somebody really did listen to us. Because when you come from a training, they do take down things and actually what happened and some things. So they did apply some things. But we were still fighting that frontline concept. Because remember, we haven't gone into Iraq or anything. And I went out there as a platoon sergeant, young platoon sergeant, E6. I made it quick. Usually E7 is a platoon sergeant, but I was aggressive, and the guy asked me, I thought he was playing, you want to be a platoon sergeant? I was like, yeah. And I thought he was kidding with me, and he said, okay, it's yours. And it's, the Bad News Bears type story, that was what my platoon looked like. So they were a bunch of troublemakers, bad kids, oh my God, bunch of big raggedy trucks. But again, what I look back and kind of think being a mechanic, because it helped me along the ranks knowing how to work my equipment now. So I was like, okay, so, being a mechanic, I didn't like the greasy part. I'm chemical now. We have all these big trucks, water tanks, and trucks that we hire all our apparatuses. We have these apparatuses that decon stuff, right? And so they were on the trucks. Well, the trucks got to be maintenance too. So me having that experience of being a mechanic, I can help that now. So I had a total of 36 people, ranked from E6 to E1, which is 4 squads, and I had 12 trucks, and I was doing it. And I didn't even have a platoon leader at the time. And I said, maybe they set me up to fail. So I started reading and asking questions. I can say at this point, I really didn't have a mentor, because no one really has taught me a lot of stuff. So I would just go over and ask somebody else, how you do this and how you do that. I hadn't got the concept or the verbiage of, I really haven't found my footing on what type of leader I was. That's what I mean. I didn't know. But I guess as time went, I realized what type of leader I was. I used all measures as I learned, as I went through the ranks. But I asked people how to do things and got it done. We went to NTC, the National Training Center, which is a training center, and we left out of there with the award of the best decon platoon that year.
Get out.
I am
That
not
was your
kidding.
Bad News Bears?
Yeah, well, because prior to getting that,
Yeah.
because you train up like 9 months to a year.
Yes.
So we would be down there late hours, and I was on them. We're going to change these tires. We're going to train. We're going to train. And that's what I knew. Training makes a difference, because maybe, like I said, Desert Storm in my mind. If you're not trained, you're going to be. So it's all, everything I said was a stepping stone to who I am. And I knew training was important, because I flashed back like a young private. I went out there like, and now I didn't want these guys to go to the desert training like. So we trained, and we left there the best decon platoon that came through there that year. And we got back, and the battalion sergeant major and everybody was like, oh, wow. At the same time, I was up for E7. And which is now it went from promotion points to a centralized promotion now, which means people look at your records, and now you go to that. And I was up, he was like, you up for E7? I was like, okay. Now, meanwhile, I barely have, I think I got 8 years in. I was a fast mover. I was hungry. I never complained about the job. I complained about resources and not having them to do the job. That's how I look at it now. And I end up making the E7. The only person in the battalion, well, it was two of us out of probably 40 eligibles. And at the same time, came down for drill sergeant.
All right.
So I got selected to go to make the next rank, E7, and the Department of the Army said, oh yeah, and you're going to be a drill sergeant. That was crazy. I didn't know what to do, because drill sergeant school was one of the scariest schools everybody had talked about. You got to memorize all this stuff, and you're training people, and da-da-da. So they said, well, the Army said that's what you're going to do. So I end up going to my advanced individual training, which is called, now it's called ALC. Back then it was called BNOC, Basic Non-Commissioned Officer Course. No, it's called ANOC, Advanced Non-Commissioned Officer Course. I end up going to ALC or ANOC, ANOC, or ALC. I mean SLC, I'm sorry. And then leaving there, going straight over to drill sergeant school. So I was in school, military schools continuously, 16, probably about 8 months of just a school environment. I ended up making E7 while I was in drill sergeant school, so I pinned on sergeant first class. And that's not common because a lot of drill sergeants are E6s, staff sergeants, so which made me stand out. So while I'm in school, the instructors who were training us, they would pick on me because I outranked them and I was still a student. So yeah, that was interesting. But I ended up graduating the top of my class there.
Good for you.
Yeah, when you poke me, it makes me more hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished that, went down to a basic training unit, 1st in the 48th Infantry at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. 2001. I told that date to you. I graduated drill sergeant school probably like April time frame. I was finishing up my first group of recruits. September 9/11 happened. 2000, 9/11 happened.
Not that day.
That day. I was a drill sergeant that day. I had finishing up my first group of initial trainees, and I had did my first group of troops, you know, teaching them how to, these are some pictures going down the walls, teaching them how to shoot the 203, that's the M203, it's a grenade launcher, that's me. And finishing these guys up, getting them out, and I have a whole bunch of other pictures.
You were in Missouri then?
This is Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I was finished these guys up and we were graduating them. And somebody ran over and said, we were in the auditorium rehearsing, getting them ready, you know, the parents are getting ready to come. And someone runs over, we're under attack, we're under attack. We're like, what are you talking about? They said, we're attacked, America's attacked, they're shooting at us everywhere. And we're like, okay, get out. We're like doing drills because we training them how to act in a combat zone. Now we're thinking, oh my God, America's in a combat zone. So we're like, get down, take cover. So we're in the gym, in the auditorium. We got the soldiers, the young recruits, because they'd be called soldiers now. We would call them privates, or they were privates until they graduate. We call them soldiers. So we had the young soldiers, we getting them down, and we're waiting for orders. There were no TVs, no anything. So it's like you didn't know what was going on. And you know, cell phones weren't that popular back then. They were barely filtered in. You know, remember the flip phones, so you probably didn't have any reception. And we didn't know what to do, so we were sitting there waiting for someone to come over and get us from being in taking cover. I mean, we didn't have any guns. I'm doing this automatically because that's how many combat to it. But we didn't know, so we laying on the ground in there, on the bleachers, under the seats, like in a theater. We got them laid down, and we got them all taking cover because we didn't have anywhere to go. And we're waiting. I hear it. Oh, it's this one.
How dare you? Stay there and take making you work for your interview.
I know. So we're waiting, and finally someone comes over a couple of hours and say, okay, they attack in New York. They pulled us out, all the drill sergeants, and said, how many of your troops are from New York? We need to know right now, or if they have family in New York. And so, because the troops don't know, because they haven't seen TV the whole time they're there.
Was this still before noon, or how early in the morning was this?
This was early, because we get up at crack of dawn, and you know that. The first, we get up, we had them over there probably like, they eat breakfast, and we had them over there probably like 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Because it's early, we get ready to, we do everything early. I mean, they wake up at 4 in the morning. So we've done physical training, ate breakfast. So we've done a lot by 4 in the morning. I don't know if they're doing that now. It's a little more softer. They might get up a little later. I don't know. But then it was 4 o'clock wake up, 4:30 you're in line, you're eating breakfast, you're over here practicing, rehearsing for graduation. So we get told that. So we're waiting. So then fast forward, we're finding out, okay, who all from New York? You break down by your different little platoons and we find out how many parents in New York. Do you have family in New York? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have cousins or uncles? So we're taking down all these names because that was our instructions to find out.
Did you know at that time about a plane hitting the
We still
Twin
didn't
Tower?
know.
You still didn't know?
We were just told that New York was bombed and we need to know what happened. Well, I mean, who all had parents or family there. That's all we knew. And we was like, oh, and you know, we're getting mad as because we didn't let the troops know still. The young recruits didn't know. And we're like, we need to beat their blah, blah, you know, bleep, bleep, bleep. We were mad. We found out it was a ton of them coming from New York. And so we were able to,
This is not gonna work.
we're going to get this through.
I was just gonna say, anybody else would give up. By golly.
I just have a long story.
No, but it's incredible though. I'm not that you were there, but you know, most other people, we had access to a TV.
No, we
And
didn't. We were in an auditorium.
You just knew attack, so
we
it
just
could
knew
be
New York was
anything.
being bombed. First we knew we were being attacked. And it went from being attacked, we were taking cover, we had them laying down, and we were just trying to figure out, because if you move, I always tell my daughter, if someone comes in and starts shooting, drop. Don't move, because you become a target. So we had them just laying there. And, I mean, here's the thing about, I will tell you why they didn't have a curiosity. They thought that maybe we were being drill sergeants and doing some corrective training to them. So they are, like I said, little robots for us. They don't know what day it is. They don't know anything. They don't get to watch TV. They don't get their cell phones. You know, it's not like it's a vacation. You don't have a phone. You don't have a TV. You get to write letters. You know, so we were their TV.
What was going through your head? I mean, or did you?
I wanted to find out because I felt like we weren't getting all the information.
Okay.
I was hungry for it, but we can't leave the troops here. And then everybody's just trying to filter out information. They locked the base down. The base is locked down. If I remember, I think the tornado siren went off. If I remember, something like that. They start because there was no plan or procedures in place if America's attacked. What you do? I mean, the base didn't know. They locked the base down. You couldn't move. They made people you couldn't drive. It was like, stop what you're doing. I found all this out as I talked to more people as we started talking, and we finally that by the time we took them to lunch, we were able to see a TV. And that's when they went and bought a lot of TVs and plugged them in, and we start having TVs. That's why if you go to most military bases now, you'll see TVs everywhere because we had TV, so we were able to finally let them see TV and let them see what had happened. Finally, it was later on that day or the next day, it just all blunders in, but I just remember we were told we were being attacked, and we took the young recruits, had them down, and we waited. We didn't know what. Then we were told New York. So we told them that their parents, whoever lived, we got the names. We were told to stop training, stop graduation preparation, get them all to some phones right now. So our whole mission the rest of the day and the rest of the week and the next days was getting them to the phones. Everything was halt on whether they would graduate or not, whether we would let them march. We didn't know what to do. It was just, everything was like, learn as you go. So some of them found out that their uncles had died. You know, it was like, they coming back, my aunt, they can't find my aunt so-and-so, or they can't sign this. And so you're like, oh, and it makes you more angry. Because now you got kids here who can't find their aunts and uncles or cousins or their parents. Somebody was a firefighter, somebody was this. It was just so much. Because it's over 200 and some young recruits at a time that we graduate. And we finally got, they supposed to graduate, and we finally got told, I guess the bigger Army, the Pentagon, said they made a call that we're going to let them graduate. And this is probably, now this is not just isolated to me, this is probably all the trade-offs across every branch of service. So I'm just speaking of my circle, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure it went to a halt for everybody. So we were told that they're going to march in civilian clothes, and they will not march in their dress uniforms. And I was like, man, this is so bad. These kids earned this. And they get to march in some jeans and t-shirts, right? Because we were told it was a terrorist attack. So one of our control measures was you don't be identified, because we didn't know if they were targeting soldiers, who they were targeting. We didn't know. We're still learning. And it was like, they were like, I want to graduate. Drill sergeant, please, can we march? And we was like, no, private, no. So again, we're learning. Then we get told, okay, they can. Then we get told no parents were allowed. Then we got told parents can come. So we thought, okay, there's not that many parents going to come because they're afraid. I will tell you, Susan, that was probably the biggest turnout we had of parents. It was so many parents in there, and they were so angry. And people was like, I'm sorry.
I know, me too. I can't. I'm not prepared for that.
The patriotism and the support and the love we saw of our country, I had never seen nothing like that. And it was so packed, we had to turn people away. It was standing out. I mean, they were like, where are these people? I mean, it was great uncles and cousins and aunts and everybody just standing there, and they wanted to support that. And we marched them kids across that stage. And it was just unbelievable. We played that song. What's the song? We put a boot in your ass. We played that song. We could play it 2-3 times because they were just hollering and hooting. And it was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And that was my 911
You had to
experience.
be proud.
Yeah.
I had to be so proud.
I shipped out some recruits. And after that, we started training. Usually you train in a session as a drill sergeant. It's a 2-year phase, 2 years. You train about maybe 1,000. I got extended another year because the war went on, so they couldn't train enough drill sergeants. I ended up doing drill sergeants for 3 years. I trained over 3,000 troops. I trained aunts and uncles, mom and daughters, lawyers, weathermen, rich, affluent kids, poor. I mean, it was so many coming through. We could only get like a 3-day break in between because the numbers was just flooding with people wanting to serve. And we trained, and I was so tired. One story, I'll transition out of that. I remember I was so tired as a drill sergeant. And you get up at 4, so again, remember I'm a single mom. I'm divorced now, I'm going to tell you. Between that, we got a divorce. It didn't work. So my daughter, I would get her up at 2:30. I had to have their troops up by 4. And I would get her up at 2:30, and I'd take her to the babysitter. We had what's called FCC providers. And these are like certified providers that do daycare in their homes. And their homes are, and they tailor to special jobs like we have. And I would get her over to the provider, Miss Elsa Sneed. Miss Elsa was from Argentina. And she spoke Spanish as well as English. And Miss Elsa and her husband was a military police drill sergeant too. And I would take her over there and drop her off, and I had to be at work by 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was doing it 7 days a week because there's no days off. You train 7 days a week. They go to church on Sunday, and then after 1 o'clock you go back into training. Yes.
I don't think people realize the drill sergeant, what they're going through, or that you even have a life.
Oh my
God.
God.
They just think of them as just tough.
I was so tired. We had got issued the new uniform where Army was on the front, and you use these black shorts, and Army goes on the back. Army was on the front. I was so tired. I woke up, I thought, oh my God, I overslept. I jump up, and Elle had stayed the night because I think it was either the weekend. Sometimes she would keep her, the provider would keep her because she said, don't come get her, I got her. I mean, this is literally, this provider, Miss Elsa Sneed, we're still friends to this day. And she would say, just come get her tomorrow night, I got her. And her son and my daughter end up, so my daughter's name is Oriel. And he was so little, he couldn't say her name. So he used to say, Cookie, my little Cookie. So he calls her his little Cookie. So now he's in the Army. Aww. And my daughter's a firefighter.
Oh.
Yeah, go figure, right? And so she would keep her. I was so tired one morning. I got up, I jumped and put my shorts on. I run in, I'm like, okay, I thought it was 6 o'clock. I thought I overslept. They said, you know it's 12:30. My shorts on backwards, I'm dog tired. We couldn't, and that's when the guy said, my supervisor said, hey, go ahead and take a couple of days off. You're just a walking zombie. I mean, I ran, think about it, 12:30, right? You could see why I would think it was 6 o'clock.
Yeah. And you hadn't even slept.
No.
Oh, what a...
Because the hands on the clock, I thought they were...
Oh, yes.
That's why.
Yes. Oh.
I hear it cracking.
It's not...
We're going to put more tape.
We got something going in a different spot.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Amazing that 9/11 and then... But also that kind of a schedule for 3 years.
3 consecutive years. I
They didn't
got
have enough-
involuntarily extended.
Didn't have enough drill sergeants.
No.
You didn't get days off.
Well, because Iraq had kicked, remember 911?
Mm-hmm.
We went in, and so the priority was training, go to war. They were not training more drill sergeants. So I ended up getting involuntary. I had a month left, and they came out and told me, you're involuntary extended. They didn't bring me in like a regular job. You know, they came out and said, you got another year. Another year to do what?
And then where were you still geographically?
In Fort Leonard Wood. They said, you got another year. Another year for what? I said, to do what? Because it's very hard, the training.
Sounds like
It's
it.
very hard. I got shot, misfired, shot by my head, feet, and ankle about 3-4 times. Because we teach them with live rounds. People don't understand. There's no blanks out there. We start them out with procedures. Then we go live rounds with them. And then they do the live crawling and stuff. And if they don't, have their finger on the trigger, they can roll over and shoot at you. Or they can turn around and misfire, So,
Just don't think of that part.
oh no, it was
Think of
very
that.
risky several times. Ooh, several times. So I was ready to go. And then they said, you got another year because there's no more drill sergeant. You don't have a replacement. I said, I'm not staying. I walked off the field that day. I walked off, got in my car. I drove to the battalion headquarters, saw the battalion sergeant major, said, I can't do another year. He said, go take some time off. Take about 3 days. We'll see you, but you're going to do another year. Or you go home.
Wow. So you were sending the troops, they were going over to Iraq?
3, yeah. Iraq. Well, I did basic training. And then they go from there to their specialty skill. Now the infantry was at a different location, but we did get some infantry, we did get some combat engineers, we did get some, because there was so many people flooding in that the numbers were just, basic training is basic training, it's across the board for all specialties. But then you go into the specialty, that's when it's different. But because we were getting so many people, I trained, basic training, some infantry guys, because Fort Benning was getting so many numbers. So it was like, it was just flooding and flooding with people. 3 years.
Did you end up getting deployed? Did you go overseas?
Yes, I left. Every time I do these tough jobs, and then I got promoted to E8, made first sergeant. And that's when let's see if that, no, that's not it. I made first sergeant, and which is E8, because they needed to feel the particular. So what it was is kind of like they were feeling internally certain jobs. So there was an E8 job that was needed for the chemical school, and they couldn't bring in people because remember the war is a priority. So I'm already here. Send her over there. So I ended up making E8 and got picked up for that job. So I did 1 year, a year and a half as the chemical school basic advisor for all the BNOC. The people know what it is, BNOC, and then it's called Advanced Leaders Training, ALC or BNOC.
Okay.
Did that, came down for Germany again.
Get away from Germany.
I don't know, I did several tours in Germany. Came down for Germany about a year and a half into this job, and then that's when I went to this job here in Germany. I was the 29th Support Group First Sergeant. I did that. This is one of the largest theaters, logistic units in Europe. They're huge. They have paratroopers. It's one of the largest. So I ended up doing that. That was in Kaiserslautern, Germany, K-Town. So that was not a bad assignment. Long hours, but not a bad assignment. I was more of a, we did was individual augmentee. We didn't deploy. I didn't deploy, but we did individuals. We would fill loopholes in units that if they got there and they needed somebody, because Germany was so much closer than flying somebody from the States, you could individual that. I did that 2 years and it made Sergeant Major. I did that, came down for Sergeant Major, went to Fort Bliss, did 9 months there, Sergeant Major Academy, class 59. Came down for Fort Stewart, 3rd Infantry Division. Got to Fort Stewart, I graduated Sergeant Major Academy May. My daughter graduated high school May. I didn't march across the street, across the stage at Sergeant Major Academy because my daughter was graduating high school. So I was able, they let me go to attend her high school graduation. She graduated, had a scholarship. She had a scholarship to basketball for William Penn University out in Iowa.
Wow.
Was there, came down to Fort Stewart, went to Fort Stewart. Fort Stewart came down for Iraq. I'm the Division CBRN, Chemical, Biological, Radiological, Nuclear, High Yield Explosive Sergeant Major. Only position on the whole base. 25,000.
In Iraq.
No, this was in Fort Stewart first. I hadn't got to Iraq yet.
Okay.
Got to Fort Stewart, that was my position. Advised the general on, CBRN, force protection, high yield, consequence management, all those things. I only asked them, I said, can I take my daughter to college before you deploy me? I just went, this is her freshman year, can I drive her to college? And they let me. I drove her to college. I got to see one game her whole freshman year of college. It was a 15-month tour. And I'll tell you how I was able to see the game. But I drove her, got back, went straight to Iraq. We were in Mosul. I was in Tikrit, Iraq, which is Mosul, northern Iraq. Tikrit with 3rd Infantry Division, near Mosul. I was the Force Protection Sergeant Major. Was responsible for all the force protection equipment for northern Iraq. Which every little camp, we had different, different scanners and all kinds of, they call it the blimp in the sky. We were responsible for that, making sure the contractors, we did that. We would go to different bases, make sure equipment and things like that, and report back to the commanding general the status and the health and welfare of the soldiers and things like that. It was a 12-month tour, but we ended up getting extended, so I was able to go at the 8th or 9th month of the tour, and I was able to go on my R&R, and I was able to make her last game of that. And so I was able to make one game. And so I flew right in, flew right into Iowa, went to the game, did our little time, went back to Iraq. Yeah.
That's a whole nother interview as you navigating being a mom through the military and your daughter.
Thank God for Skype.
Yeah.
We would Skype. The only part I didn't like was, I hear it cracking.
Yeah.
Is it falling apart?
Not yet.
Okay. The only part, I think this chair might be doing it.
Yeah, pull up a bit.
The only part I didn't like is being the force protection sergeant major. I knew every time there was a casualty, because we worked hand in hand with the intel, and I was in the division headquarters. So, and the flag is half staff, and it was a lot. I hated getting up in the mornings to walk to the camp work, because I hate to look to see if the flag is half staff, because I know overnight someone has died from ID or blown up. We had to, being the senior leadership, we would go over when they come into the cache, and we would assist them with getting their Purple Hearts, because the general made sure that they always got pinned at Purple Hearts before they, So we would stand there and give them kind of like a cheerleading team, and he would make sure they were pinned, their Purple Hearts, those that were alive.
Yeah. Oh my God, usually sleep.
You want me to just take it down?
Let's just take it down at this point. Let's take it down. Because we can't be talking about casualties. Oh, so I mean, you never got used to it?
No, you get.
How were those services though when they do the Purple Heart?
They're in their beds, and some of them want to go back to fight. They don't even realize they don't have a leg, or they don't realize that their leg is gone, or some of them lost their manhood, or they're like, I'm getting ready, and they telling their sergeant, be ready, I'm gonna go back, and we're gonna win.
How did you stay support? I mean, you were there though, just trying to support them.
It was part of our leadership's. He wanted us to be there. Like every sergeant major, you would go when we call it the Purple Heart ceremony. You do that to make them feel appreciated. So I made it part of me to make sure that I would be there for that young soldier. It may not be my soldier, it could be anybody's soldier from out the theater. I made sure that I'm standing there to cheer them on and tell them thank you. And so, it get to the point, it was so many, it bothers you, it start bothering you. And it was just a lot to where the ceremonies became, you knew something was wrong with you when you started not feeling anything anymore.
I started to ask you, because I mean, we let our emotions out. Could you do that then?
No, never would you. You shouldn't.
No.
It could, we're trained.
You had to hold
You don't
it
want them
all,
to feel, at that time, you can go somewhere, but I feel like if I'm crying and a soldier tell me I want to go back and fight, I may make them think, what's wrong with you, So you just want them to be like, yeah, you just, it's more of a motivation and showing your appreciation to them.
Yeah, but what it must have taken to hold in your emotions.
They were so young, some of them. Some of them, some of them just, and for people to want us to stay there, to fight, and then to the point where you don't have enough people that's trained, so then that's when the back-to-back deployments come, because people start to mentally break down, and they find mentally they can't go back. If you're found to have PTSD, more than likely they don't want to deploy you back-to-back.
Yeah. So you're talking about now about that you're glad we're out.
Oh God, I'm so glad. I ain't even gotten to Afghanistan, how horrible that was. Iraq, I worked with the State Department in Afghanistan, but in Iraq I would go out and see different things. There were some spots that some of these soldiers were at. They were called SP's points that they were at, and we'd be sporadically all over preparing for the election to come up. And we were part of that. When they had the blue, they go, we helped. Yeah, so we were helping getting them ready for that. I helped with the Iraq and the Afghanistan elections. And so we were part of that, getting them ready. setting up the different checkpoints so that when they come out of wherever they're coming from, because they came out of caves and all different places. And here in America, we take the voting for granted. And these people came out and they would be honored to do this. And we just helped oversaw it. We didn't run it, we just oversaw it and provided checkpoints and things like that so a suicide bomber don't come through and blow up the voting place. And assisted with that, with helping setting up. I physically wasn't on the ground, but my team and our expertise assisted with keeping the election safe. Along with the infantry guys. And like I said, we're fighting asymmetrically now. There is no these guys here in support. It's like this. And everybody's all over. It's a circle where we fight now. And it was a long deployment. I will say the Iraqi people were a little more, you know, I don't use the word not as corrupt. Maybe I shouldn't say not as corrupt. I don't know.
Well, I mean that might be the only way you can say.
Yeah, not as compared to Afghanistan. But
you saw that right away.
Oh yes, because I had a different job in Afghanistan. I worked with the State Department, so I had a different perspective. Okay. And I'll go into what I did with them, but Iraq was okay. I got to go around. It was more of, we did more security type things there, but it was a lot of IEDs, stuff like that. I will tell you, we got some badass pilots. I will tell you, they are bad. Oh, I have friends, she flew to fly a pilot, she was a pilot, and we have some bad ones. I mean, you're talking about we got the best.
Yeah. We
got the best. Our infantry, we are an amazing military. I will tell you. When you look at, we was training, one of my jobs was to also train the Iraq military for chemical. Oh my God. Okay, it's hot over there. Really, really hot. Now granted, they should be accustomed to it because this is their country. So we were out there doing something, and our EOD, high yield explosive, they only stayed like 6 months. So we have the Army EOD, then you have the Navy EOD. And they rotate coming into theater. But they work with us, the chemical force protection people. So it was the Navy term, they were out there. And they found some mustard agent. And so at the time, we're showing the Iraq Army chemical people how to handle. They're tired, they can't keep the gear on, they're sleepy, they gotta stop to pray. I got all that. But it was like, who's doing what here? It was like, it was very challenging. We were like,
were they not aware or recognize the gravity of what they were dealing with?
It's their work ethics. Not to be mean, but it's a different culture, period. You know, as a drill sergeant, we taught what's called appropriate behavior or acceptable behavior. That is cultural training, and we do that because we know people come from different little regions in the United States, but we still all Americans, right? So we all have the same, somewhat same values in the circle. Somewhere in there there's respect somewhere, right? But it's just different there, right? It's just different. It was challenging. I don't want to say they were lazy, I just think it was challenging.
Was it frustrating to you?
Yes.
Okay.
My people were dog tired.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to show them how to use certain pieces of equipment. They don't care to, they'll try, then 5 minutes later they done forgot. And then it's like, is this really worth it? So I would go back and tell my officers, I'm like, is anybody really telling the truth here? Okay. Their work ethics is totally different. I mean, it's okay, maybe the infantry ones, but I will tell you, I can't speak for the ones that walked along with the infantry ones, right? But I do know the ones that did the support, the combat support, the chemical part. Maybe it's the quality of the ones that go to the different armies,
Mhm.
right? But it was challenging, but it
You made it through that.
yeah, came back, revamped, did a change of command, new general come on board, get General Abrams, the Abrams tank general, grandson or son. Ooh, we knew then. We get back, we're revamping, downloading our containers, get ready to stand down. I think we finna do a 2-year break. We ramped back up. Not even 6 months. We ramped back up to go back to Iraq to shut it down. Or to downsize it or something they were doing, the verbiage they play on. Then they said, no, we're gonna take you all off 3ID. You're not gonna go. We was like, whoo, thank you. 90 days later, we were on Afghanistan chart. We in Afghanistan.
What year about was this?
2011, then 2012. 2012, I got back from Iraq to 2010. I was in Afghanistan in 2012. But remember, in between that, there's extensive training because you're looking at 2 different countries, 2 different fights, 2 different environments, 2 different languages, 2 different, and so it'd been fine. Maybe we went back to Iraq because it'd been like, okay, I got this, and Afghanistan, whoa, the terrain was unbelievably challenged. The government was unbelievable. The fight was unbelievable. Everything. We were getting bombed every single day over there. Actually, we went in, we stayed in Romania. That's what we did our break. Instead of going to continuous flight, I think it was like 20 some hours to Romania. Yeah, on a plane, yeah. Those flights are pretty long. We go into Germany, we either stop in Germany or Ireland. We get off the plane, then we take a break, and then we go straight into, we stayed in Romania for some days, I guess, to, revamp or whatever we did. Then we got on the plane and we flew into Afghanistan. I remember when the pilot was like, hey, we're going over the Black Sea. Anybody want to come up and see? So it really is a Black Sea, right? Mm-hmm. So he, in between, they try to make it a fun, let you come up and stand in the pilot's thing. We were on a C-31, so really big, all our gear, your gun, your weapons, and we get in there, we're landing, and we heard rocket attack. We're getting off the plane. We take cover for a while. It's all clear. It was a false call. And I look over, Susan, and I see a lot of coffins draped in flags. It was 11 coffins draped in a flag. It was a pilot, the helicopter got shot down. I flew into Afghanistan with 11 dignified transfers being loaded out of Afghanistan. And I'm coming into Afghanistan on the same airfield, right? I go in and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, Jesus, am I gonna survive this one? This one, now this is my way. I forgot to go into Bosnia, but this is my 5th combat or operation or combat tour. And I'm thinking, am I going to survive this one? Oh, Lord. And we're sitting there and they're telling us this and this and that. You need to do this and this is what it sounds like. This is the cover you take. These are the bunkers. This is what you do. And I'm sitting there like, now you've been on a plane all this time. They're throwing you to the training. Go get in your room. Go get trained. I'm riding over to my little hooch room. Rocket attack. We pull over. We got to go find a bunker. I stay in a bunker 3 hours. I hadn't even made it to take my bags off. I sat in a bunker 3 hours. Wait, and now I will tell you, we do fight differently now. I had full ammo. I had all my rounds.
We gotta finish this one. Can we get about 2 more minutes? 15?
As much time as you need.
Okay. Our picture fell off. We had on the wall. No, okay.
So we had about, I had my full rounds, all my ammo. because I was an E9 USARMY major. I had a 9mm and I had an M4. So I had 2 clips of 9mm clips and an M4. So I had a lot of ammo this time. Unlike if you flash back when I only had them 12 rounds. So you can see we have. So I did have that. So you immediately know what different levels to go to. You know, you go into level, you go into a certain level where the round is chambered. You go into certain levels, you walk around with just a magazine in. So once we an attack, you go to certain levels and you in the bunker. So not that I wasn't prepared, it's just that I just came off this long flight. And I'm already have made one
I guess
day.
I'm expecting you'd get off at a safe zone in a
Oh no.
in a green zone or no.
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 Not on Kandahar. I was in Kandahar.
Mm.
You familiar with Kandahar?
Yeah,
Yeah, we flew into Kandahar.
I mean, I only hear on the news.
That's where we were.
Never met anybody that was there.
Kandahar. Yeah. That was the Regional Command South. That is. These are some of the pictures. Regional Command South. I will show you the picture. Because that's where we were at southern Afghanistan. And I'm going to have to speed my story up.
Well, I have to do it.
This is some of the T-walls or something that you stand by. That covered surrounded our base because we were like out in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Command South. That's a T-wall. And that's
You can hold
okay,
up.
that's where we were at. Regional Command South, Kandahar, Afghanistan. And that is what you call right here is a T-wall that I'm standing in front of. So finally I did make it to my room. Fast forward, I was given an additional duty as the female engagement team, Force Protection Sergeant Major as well as the female engagement team. I was appointed that position by the Chief of Staff. They said, hey, Sarita, we want you to do that job. So what a female engagement team did was we trained, it was all military. There was different militaries. There were the British, the French, the Norwegians, the different females. We would go on missions because certain villages, and you know the culture is, the men can't talk to the women. So we were trained to interact with the women. The purpose of my job was also to assist with the training of the women to get ready for the Afghanistan election, because they wanted to train the women to search the women as they come through the different checkpoints to vote. Yeah. So we had to teach them how to fire 9mm, train them on. We would go out to different areas. We would ride in this, that's me getting ready to go out. That's before I take off the cap, I will tell you. We rode in the MTV here. This is us sitting, having chai tea with the Afghan woman. I'm gonna have a better picture of her. That's her right there. She's very small in stature. That's one of our trainees. Again, you didn't get a whole bunch of them because it takes a lot of courage for them to come out.
What kind of women?
A lot of courage. I mean, sometimes we'll have 1, sometimes we'll have 2, sometimes we have 3. We didn't have a lot. But that's a courageous woman to want to step up and do that. As you can see, she has a 9mm weapon on. So we teach her how, we have chai tea with her, that us sitting there having tea in a little area. We're having chai tea.
Okay.
That's her making the tea. I didn't get, she was very suspicious. We had to always get permission to take pictures. Because they are, some of the areas are very covert and very, 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 very just, there's some of them still live in caves. So they have not seen an ink pen or a camera. So we had an interpreter. We always had interpreters with us. And we were asked to take pictures. And some of them didn't want us to take pictures because they thought we would steal their soul. So that's why you don't have a lot of pictures with the Afghan women, because they had different beliefs on different things. And so we had another one. She was snatched through the night by the Taliban. I've lost that picture with her. I wish I had it. She was tall in stature. She taught herself English. She watched our lips and she watched the interpreter. And as the time go, because we would go back to the same villages and we would constantly train them. Sometimes we'd go out 3 times a week, and we'd be like, wear it. And I forgot, because their names, I hate I lost her name. I clearly remember she said, I want to be strong like you. And so we came back like maybe a week or so later, and that's when she was with her, and we asked where she was at. She said the Taliban came through the night and got her. She was tall, because you know there's not tall Afghan women, so she was taller in stature, and she could do good push-ups, and she was really good shooter, and then came through the night and got her. So we would go into places. It was a big threat. So I would go in there and train them because I believed in that. And they told us all the time, they want to be like us. I want to be like you. I want to be like the American women. Mm-hmm. An interpreter would tell us that. And it just breaks my heart because it's like people paint these people like these horrible people. And they just want their children to raise their families, and they just want freedom. And they want to be strong like us, to be able to fight back and stand up for their families. Now, inside of the household, you know, everybody say they're strong, but they want to have it all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. Yeah. It was a good job because I got to see at the election. I remember the day of the election, and you could see some of the women standing out there. You're like, I don't know if I trained her. Maybe it's somebody from one of the female engagements team, somebody trained her. She's standing there and she's looking sharp. And so that's the
very proud
part of the
But you
story.
had a personal interaction, so it's not something you just watch on the news like
No.
Unfortunately.
Like physically, we helped them shoot, we taught them how to do push-ups, we taught them hygiene, we taught them just different things. And we also interacted. Got some intel too, but
girl talk.
I mean, but I will tell you, most of them spoke Dari because it was southern Afghanistan, and Kabul was posh, right? 2 different languages they spoke, which is 2 different jargons. So I was learning some of it, and then you go up to Kabul, it's a different language because they speak posh, and then they spoke Dari in Kandahar. So, and we just learned the basic words. I forgot them, I know, senior moments. But
a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. And this is me at a swap meet in Kandahar, where we used to go, and I bought back a lot of beautiful scarves. Here. This is how you would go out, and those are beautiful scarves that they had.
In the market?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We were allowed to go.
The colors are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Me interacting. I always knew, one thing I always knew they told me. They said, if they shake your hand, they reach out their left hand, they don't trust you. I never got a left hand extended. They told me be mindful. If they reach out their left hand, they don't, be careful. I don't know if you want to, because it's so much more, and I hadn't even got, if you want to.
I think I definitely would love, I almost feel like I'd like to do a continuation and focus even your interactions with the women in Afghanistan and all. But, I mean, because you've got just so much firsthand experience. I'm curious, since it's current times, this is September 16th, and we were just left Afghanistan August 31st. Was that emotional for you, or what were you, or did you know it was coming?
It was both. I have a combined. I wanted us out because I thought it was, we were never, again, it's a cultural thing. And I know firsthand that we were leading the charge. We were told one thing back here, but our actions on the ground were different.
Do you think people knew it though? The high command or?
They had an idea. But I mean, if you're going out and you're supposed to be, here's what I tell you. You heard of green on blue? See, no one in America probably heard of that too much. We would go out and we'd be we call it training them side by side.
Oh.
And we're training them. So if we're teaching you to take the lead, and certain things, they would turn on us and shoot and kill some of us.
Mm.
So that's,
You've heard that.
yes. So then you lose that trust. Who can you trust and who you can't trust? If I'm training you and then you're turning on killing some of us. You know, I knew a general who was in the Pentagon when he got killed. He went over there. He was the highest rank that got killed. I knew him. I worked with him in the Pentagon. There was a kid, they turned on him, you know. How do you have 20 years over there and you're still shooting us and killing us? And we're training you. I think it's time for them to step up. I do think that, I look at it like this. We went over there because we were defending the Constitution of the United States. We took an oath. I know a lot of people say they feel like people died in vain. No, they died defending the Constitution. And there's nothing in vain about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you
So-
feel that. That's how I think the majority of us feel.
Okay.
There's been a service that's kept us all safe.
Right. And
You
so
know.
I don't feel, when is it? You know, when do you stop? Germany, yeah, they say we're still in Germany, but Germany's not doing what Afghanistan is still doing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if they had a different approach, maybe we were getting more, you know, you could see the transition, but there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
They're still living in caves over there.
What is do you have any, like right now when you're talking to fellow veterans or even civilians that are talking about or like trying to bring people that, you know, that they'll be left behind or whatever, is that something you stay involved in the conversation? Do you avoid it or are you able to give an opinion? I mean, we're bringing...
If it's misinformation.
Okay.
Because I don't want to live someone's feelings or I don't know what they experienced. I know every time I went out to wire, I wrote a letter. And I had my room clean because in case they packed my room up, I wanted them not to see the dirty clothes and the dirty underwear. You know, I had everything nice and neat, and I always left a letter for my daughter.
Oh.
So I don't know how they feel. So I only can speak. But if someone is exaggerating, like one time I heard somebody saying, yeah, my friend got shot by a 50 cal. And I said, and he's alive? And they said, yeah. I said, stop. A 50 cal would have blew him to smithereens. Stop. Mm-hmm. Stop giving misinformation. So only something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I know people wanting to get out, but I know veterans are reconnecting with Vietnam, and it's an emotional time. But it sounds like you've had an amazing career of service.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, I mean, I can't hold it together.
I know. I was trying to stay focused, but I got caught in my emotions
But the fact,
because
you can do that now. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's for a lot of veterans. You've had back to back to back to back, so you can identify, but you have to be able to let it out, and that holding it in is what is causing a lot of other mental suffering.
Yeah.
So, that's, you see a badass shed some tears. I'm glad, let it out there, you know?
Now, there were many nights in Afghanistan and Iraq I prayed and cried on my pillow. Oh my God, you just don't know.
And with your daughter,
Yes.
I'm just so happy that you've made it through all of this. I do want to get, there's too many wonderful photos that I want to get properly copied, that you don't want to lose any of this. It's such a story, but it's not just a story, it's your life. And so much that somebody is watching over you. You
Yes.
definitely put that,
My mom,
that's
she
proof.
was a praying woman. She's not here anymore, but she was a praying woman.
Yeah, I believe it.
A
She's still with
praying woman.
you.
Yes.
She is still with you. She's
And I even though my story seems, I would do it again because it made me who I am.
That's why I started to ask right now, considering everything that we know, because there's a lot of now bad, similar to after Vietnam. What would you tell a young woman, let's say an 18-year-old, or would you have a message, or what would you say if they don't really have a direction for what they're doing?
And they're in the military? Or
No, would they
would
consider it, because the recruiters are out there, recruiters are OTC. If you could say something to a room full of young women?
I would tell them, find a mentor. It's imperative. Have a plan. Have a long and a short term. Know what you want. And you are not the majority. So nothing is going to be, work hard. Don't expect anything. Minimize the complaining, because it's natural. But just stay focused on what you want. If you want, I want to be a biomedical engineer, then I want to be a nurse. Then I like being chemical. So guess what? I found my footing. Again, it's not for everybody. Everybody's not going to do 28 years. So don't go in there with 28 years. Take every enlistment, not every day, because it's an enlistment because you sign a contract. Take it with the focus that you're going to complete it. That's it. Don't try to say I'm going to do 20. Just do each enlistment.
That's good. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Put it into bite-sized pieces.
Because if you say 20 and you already like, oh my God, this is year one, I got 19 more, you'll lose focus.
No. Okay. Well, we will wrap it up for right now.
Okay.
There's so much more. Thank you so much, Sarita. This is been amazing and inspiring. Because we need, like you said, nobody's service is in vain, no matter what their role is.
Right.
Whether it's stateside or whatever. So thank you again.
You're
and
welcome.
we'll continue this.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I know.